Have you ever wondered why it's so crucial to forgive those who have wronged us? It's a question that has likely crossed our minds at least once in our lifetime, a thought that lingers in the back of our consciousness, waiting for the right moment to surface. Forgiveness, in its simplest form, is a conscious decision to release feelings of resentment or vengeance towards a person or group who has harmed us. Yet, it is so much more than that. It is a transformative process, a journey that we embark upon, not for the one who has caused us harm, but for ourselves. In our daily lives, we encounter numerous situations where we may feel wronged or hurt. These situations can leave us carrying a heavy burden of resentment, anger, and bitterness. This burden weighs us down, preventing us from experiencing the joy, peace, and freedom that life has in store for us. It's like walking through life with a backpack filled with stones, each stone representing a grudge we hold, a hurt we've experienced, or a wrong we've suffered. But what if we could lighten that load? What if we could remove those stones one by one, releasing the resentment and making room for peace and happiness? This is where the power of forgiveness comes into play. Forgiveness is not about forgetting the wrong or saying that it was okay. It is not about letting the other person off the hook. Instead, forgiveness is about choosing to let go of the hurt and resentment for our own peace of mind. It's about recognizing the pain, accepting it, and then deciding not to let it control us anymore. In essence, forgiveness is about our well-being, our peace, and our freedom. It's about acknowledging the hurt but not allowing it to define us. It's about choosing love and compassion over anger and resentment. It's about embracing the healing power of forgiveness and allowing it to transform us. To understand more about the power of forgiveness, let's delve into a story from the Bible that perfectly exemplifies this. The parable of the prodigal son is one of the most well-known stories in the Bible that teaches us about forgiveness. This compelling tale begins when a younger son, eager for independence and adventure, asks his father for his share of the inheritance. The father, though saddened by his son's decision, agrees. As we follow the son on his journey, we see him squander his wealth on reckless living until he finds himself penniless, destitute, and alone. In a moment of desperation, he decides to return home, hoping to be accepted back as a servant. He is filled with remorse and guilt, fully aware that he has not only wasted his inheritance, but also deeply hurt his father. Now let's pause here for a moment. The son's actions were wrong and hurtful. He made a mess of his life and deeply wounded his father's heart. Yet he musters up the courage to return home, not expecting forgiveness, but begging for mercy. As he approaches his family's home, his father sees him from afar. But instead of anger or resentment, the father's heart is filled with joy. He runs to his son, embraces him, and kisses him. Before the son can even utter his prepared apology, the father orders his servants to bring the finest robe, a ring, and sandals for his son. He even calls for a feast to celebrate his son's return. This is where the real beauty of the story unfolds. The father's forgiveness was not dependent on his son's actions. His forgiveness wasn't a response to a well-articulated apology or a promise of change. No, the father forgave his son because he loved him. His love was not conditional on his son's behavior or choices. His love was, and always had been, unconditional. The father's reaction might seem unreasonable or even unfair to some. After all, the son had done nothing to earn forgiveness. But that's the point. The father's forgiveness was a gift, freely given out of love, not something the son had to earn or deserve. The father's forgiveness wasn't just about letting go of resentment. It was about embracing love. It was about opening his arms wide to a son who had hurt him, welcoming him back into the family, and restoring his dignity and status as a son. This is the power of unconditional love and forgiveness. The story of the prodigal son is a powerful example of how forgiveness can transform relationships and heal deep wounds. It challenges us to let go of our own resentments and to forgive others, not because they deserve it, but because we love them. The father's forgiveness in this story shows us the true power of letting go of resentment and embracing love. So, how does this ancient biblical story relate to our modern lives? Let's delve into that. The tale of the prodigal son is not just a narrative from the distant past, it's a timeless guide that holds a mirror to our lives today. The lessons we extract from this parable are as applicable now as they were over 2,000 years ago. The central theme of this story is forgiveness, a concept that transcends time, culture, and personal beliefs. But what does forgiveness really mean? It's not about forgetting the wrongs done to us or dismissing the pain they've caused. It's about releasing the grip they have on our hearts and minds. It's about freeing ourselves from the shackles of resentment and bitterness. Imagine a life where you're not weighed down by the burdens of past hurts. Imagine the freedom that comes when you let go of the grudges that have been draining your joy and peace. That's the power of forgiveness. It's like a breath of fresh air that revitalizes your spirit and gives you the strength to move forward. But let's be clear, forgiveness doesn't mean you're condoning the actions that hurt you. It doesn't mean you're saying, what you did is okay. Not at all. Forgiveness is about you. It's about your healing, your growth, your freedom. When you forgive, you're taking back the control that your hurts have had over you. You're choosing to rise above the pain and step into a brighter, healthier future. You're choosing to replace bitterness with love, resentment with understanding, and anger with peace. This is the power of forgiveness. It's a transformative force that can change your life. It can break the chains of past hurts and open the door to a new world of peace, joy, and love. By forgiving others, we are not saying what they did was okay, but we're releasing ourselves from the chains of resentment. It's a journey of healing, liberation, and self-discovery. It's a journey that begins with a single empowering step, the step of forgiveness. But how do we go about forgiving others, especially when the hurt runs deep? This question, my friends, often lingers in our hearts and minds, casting a shadow over our ability to truly let go. So, let's explore some practical steps towards forgiveness. Firstly, it's crucial to acknowledge the pain. Often, we might find ourselves suppressing the hurt or denying the impact it's had on us. But healing begins when we bravely confront the wound, accepting that it's a part of our story. It doesn't define us, but it has shaped us. Next, we need to express our feelings constructively. It's not about venting our anger or sadness uncontrolledly. Rather, it's about finding a healthy outlet for our emotions. This might be through journaling, speaking with a trusted friend, or even seeking professional help. Expressing our feelings allows us to understand them better, and in turn, manage them more effectively. Then comes the pivotal step of making a conscious decision to forgive. This is where the power of choice comes into play. Forgiveness isn't something that just happens to us. It's a deliberate act, a decision we make for our own peace. It's like setting down a heavy burden we've been carrying for too long. However, it's important to remember that forgiveness is a process. Sometimes it might take longer than we'd like. There could be days when it feels like we're back at square one, but that's okay. It's perfectly normal to take 2 steps forward and 1 step back. The key is to keep moving forward, to persist, to strive towards forgiveness, even when it's hard. In the end, we must remind ourselves why we choose to forgive. It isn't about letting the other person off the hook or forgetting the pain they've caused. It's about freeing ourselves from the chains of resentment and bitterness. It's about choosing peace over pain, love over hate, and healing over hurting. Remember, forgiveness is a journey, not a destination. It's a conscious choice we make for our own peace and healing. So take your time, be patient with yourself, and walk this path of forgiveness at your own pace. So as we wrap up, let's reflect on the power of forgiveness. We've journeyed through the biblical tale of the Prodigal Son, unveiling the transformative might of forgiveness. It's not just an abstract concept, but a potent force that can free us from the shackles of resentment, anger, and bitterness. Imagine the peace and tranquility that can be found in releasing these burdens, in letting go, and allowing the healing process to begin. The power of forgiveness is not just in the act itself, but in the aftermath, the liberation, the healing, the growth. It's like the dawn after a long, dark night. It's important to remember that forgiveness is not just about others, but also about forgiving ourselves. It's a journey, a process, and every step we take towards it is a step towards healing and peace. Thank you for joining us today. If you found this video helpful, share it with others and subscribe to our Closer to God channel. Until next time, remember the power of forgiveness and let its healing embrace touch your life. Before we wrap up, let's delve into some fascinating facts about forgiveness that you might not know. Studies have shown that practicing forgiveness has profound impacts on our well-being. It's not just a moral virtue, it's a health booster too. When we forgive, we reduce stress and improve our mental health. The weight of grudges, anger, and resentment is lifted, allowing our minds to breathe freely. And here's something you might find surprising. Forgiveness is not just about others, it's also about forgiving ourselves for our own mistakes. It's about letting go of the guilt and regret that weighs us down. It's about accepting our past, acknowledging our mistakes, and moving forward with a renewed sense of self. And lastly, did you know that the act of forgiveness can even have physical health benefits? Yes, you heard it right. Studies suggest that forgiveness can lead to improved heart health. It's a healing balm for not just our emotional wounds, but our physical ones too. These facts show us that forgiveness is not just good for our soul, but also for our body and mind. It's a holistic approach to wellness that begins with the simple act of letting go. So the next time you find it hard to forgive, remember these facts and let the power of forgiveness transform your life.